Evaluate maybe how the quarterback competition sort of played out during camp, and just your evaluation of how the passing game looks going into week 1.
Yeah, I'm really encouraged by it. I think we had a good battle at quarterback. You know, it kind of went back and forth for days at a time. I think our passing game, I'm pretty confident in where we're at. I think I definitely know we haven't taken a step backward. Most days I think we've taken steps forward because of the quarterback, because of the wide receivers position, because for a lot of things. But I think Coach Cole's done a real good job with those guys, and very excited to see what they do Thursday night.
How has Bob influenced the players in that group?
He's a real experienced guy. I think he does a great job of simplifying things and keeping the main thing, if that makes sense. Obviously there's a lot of stuff that the quarterback has to know, and everything operates through them, and I think he does a really good job of simplifying what they need to know and keeping things simple and keeping the main thing.
Coach Joe mentioned that he's able to really relate to players well. I guess, how is he able to do that?
Well, just personality, I think. I mean, if you've ever been around Bob for more than 5 minutes, you'll never forget him, I promise you that. I was lucky enough to GA for him for a couple of years at Utah State, and he's a creative guy. He's got tons of personality. I mean, I haven't met too many like him. So, but just a good guy and fun guy to be around.
Joe said that this team doesn't blitz a lot, and with a group of running backs that you have your pick of your Tyler Nadees or your Lane Summers or your Carl Tuckers, how do you go about using your running group to attack that defense?
Well, I think there's a few things. I mean, statistically on paper they don't blitz a lot. I also know that the guy that was the coordinator a year ago, while he was on the staff, he wasn't the coordinator. So obviously we're going by what the information we have, which is from a year ago, but also need to be open-minded enough and understand that the game plan might have to change drastically after the first couple series, because it might be different than expected because of who's running the defense and personnel-wise. So, I think first game-wise, regardless of what the defense does or what we anticipate them or think they're going to do, it's really going to come down to what do we do best? What do we feel is our best stuff, and make sure that we execute that. In first game, it's always about fundamentals. It's always about operation. Being able to signal the right play and have the right personnel, all that stuff that goes into first game that you rehearse over and over and over again. I think a lot of that stuff comes into the first game, and that's where you see in self-inflicted wounds many times. It plays that cost you games, and so trying to do a great job of making sure our kids are prepared as far as that's concerned, and make the game plan big enough. You don't want to put anything, any one formation too much, because you don't know exactly how they're going to line up to that one formation. You can anticipate and think but at the end of the day, there are different people on defensive places. So try to be broad enough in the game plan that we feel like we have enough, but at the same time we can do a great job of really owning our 111th and executing that.
When you're preparing, there's a lot of crossover with Western Illinois having played Weber and NAU and South Dakota State teams you guys played last year. Do you use that when you're game planning?
We do. Yeah, we do. Because you kind of have a feel for personnel on those teams, right, if that makes sense. So you can kind of anticipate a little bit, and even our defensively, our defense schematically, in a lot of ways is similar to what we anticipate.
Big Sky teams have had some success throwing the ball down the field against Missouri Valley teams in recent years. Is that something you see maybe might be able to take advantage of against Western Illinois?
We hope so. I mean, throw the ball in general, we hope so. I think, see how it all plays out. Obviously matchups, personnel-wise, one of the corners, at least in the 2 deep, played significantly, was a starter a year ago, and the other guy's a transfer, and you don't see him much on film, so you kind of got to, get series or 2 in and test them and see, kind of how the matchups work favorable.
Ton of talk about the quarterbacks and the skill players throughout this entire camp, but the offensive line seems like they've made a ton of progress. How would you evaluate just where they're at right now?
Yeah, again, you bring back 4 starters in that group, so you would hope that they're, the leaders and where it all starts. That being said, you still got to find that 5th, and then the 6th, and the 7th, and if you're lucky, the 8th. And so I think they made a ton of progress. We've had the thing I think about that group is we haven't had a lot of guys miss much fall camp with nicks and bumps and bruises. We've had a guy or two out here the last couple of days, but he should be back today. But I think that's the big thing with offensive line is just the consistency. I think there's, you know, a lot of power in knowing what the guy to the right is and the guy to the left is, even though you need to verbally communicate, knowing what they're thinking and that bond that goes with those 5 guys and those guys, five guys playing together, playing the same position consistently. And so I like where we're at, and I truly believe that that's a group that's going to get better and better and better as the year goes on too.
Go ahead.
Have you seen Zach Red's, hearing thing? Has that been an issue much for him?
I mean, yeah, a little bit, always an issue. I think we found a way, knock on wood. I think we found a way to work around it, and haven't had issues. Again, that's part of the first game thing. Not as much if he's playing anywhere, but obviously at center it's a little bit bigger deal than at guard. But as far as fall camp, we noticed it more in the spring and tried to taper and fix some things to make it fit for him better, and seemed to have worked so far.
Do you think he's getting more comfortable with it, I suppose?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so for sure.
Really, can you talk about just the brand of defense they play in the Missouri Valley and how this particular defense stacks up to that?
I mean, they're very physical, starting up front. Again, 99, I want to say maybe Sanders is his name, I can't remember, but I mean, if he's not the best D lineman we played since I've been here, he's in the top 2 or 3 for sure. He is, kind of a Tucker Yates kind of kid. Looks like size-wise with maybe a little bit more twitch, and when he wants to go somewhere, he pretty much goes there. So we're gonna have our hands full with him. They bring another guy, 50, who plays like their buck, will be our buck, and he can run the pass, rush the passer pretty well, and he's got some twitch. 39 at linebacker comes back and started I think 12 games last year. Was a very good player for him, and then 30 in the secondary, their safety is a darn good player. And so, I mean, they're very physical, they run to the football, they tackle really well on film. They don't miss many tackles, and so it's going to be a great test for our offense, for sure.
One way or another, you'll have a new quarterback. Do you kind of try to game plan around, whoever is the quarterback, or do you try to, scheme up ways to put that whoever it is in a better position, I suppose, compared to what you did last year? Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, whoever's taking every snap, you want to try and do what they do best, if that makes sense, and put them in a position where they can be successful. And what player A does really well may not be what player B does real well. And so, we've tried to, throughout fall camp, build a system broad enough that we can adapt to whoever is taking the snaps, if that makes sense. And so, whichever quarterback is in the game, we definitely try to, hone the game plan to fit their skill set and what they do best and what they feel comfortable with.
For you, is that kind of fun to, scheme up different ways, or?
Yeah. I think, there's certain things offensively that we're always going to do, no matter who the quarterback is. And then after that, it's, hey, what does this guy do well, and how can we build that around him?
Do you know something about Willie Patterson? His confidence level? How do you think that adds to just his ability to perform?
Willie to me has been, last fall camp again, red shirt. Not really sure what to think of him, trying to figure it out. I don't know if he was completely bought in, but that guy is just an unbelievable kid. Great competitor, loves to play football. I truly believe that he loves everything about football. He loves to practice. He obviously loves to play. Who doesn't? But the guy's just a competitor, and it's been a great little playmaker for us, and just definitely a bright spot for our offense. Starting last spring, and in fall camp.
What stands out to you about Western Illinois' offense?
Very balanced. They do a good job, controlling the clock, running the ball in that conference. I think you kind of have to, and they got a quarterback that's been there and done it, and he's a big dude. I jokingly, not jokingly, say the linebacker is bigger than all of you, so you're gonna have to tackle him. And he's a big kid, and he does a good job on offense. Honorable mention guy in that conference, I think says a lot, as an underclassman. So I know Coach was just talking about him. Their back is pretty special. He's two-sport athlete, and you know, he can scoop a little bit. So you know, they lose a good chunk of that offensive line, and we return all of ours. So with a couple additions, so hopefully that's a favorable matchup for us.
How important is it to get pressure to?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, it's just something we've been so poor at doing, you know. And, I mean, even if we're not always hitting and sacking the quarterback, we just got to pressure the quarterback more than we've done. And so, obviously, that's been a huge emphasis this fall, and taking the football away, and you know, winning on third down, things that we just weren't good enough at doing last year. So, you know, I think if we, I mean, it's just, you know, it's going to be a huge game. I mean, the crowd's going to be awesome. It's going to be an awesome night in Bozeman. I think if we can start fast defensively, you know, I think we've got a chance. So it'll be fun.
McGuire's not a guy, doesn't sound like he gets out of the pocket much, not a threat to run, I guess. So is he more conducive to maybe achieve that pressure that you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, he's a big, good athlete. I mean, he is. He can run. Doesn't do it much, but when he does, he very rarely. It's not going to be for positive yards. So, yeah, I mean, we just got to apply pressure with 4 and 5 and even times 6. And, you know, just and not be afraid to take some chances. You know, I mean, I think we have to. You know, starting with myself and the players, we have to have a very aggressive mentality. And we like I said, we won't always hit him, but if we can just pressure him and you know, maybe do a good job disguising and maybe you know, confusing him with our different coverages and stuff. So he's a good player. Though. I like him. I mean, more like if he gets going, he's pretty good. I mean, like really good. You know, and if you can get after him early, he's not the same. You know, but I do. I think he's a good player. He'd be, in my mind, he'd definitely be in the top half in our league, and I think our league's got good quarterbacks, so I think he's a good player.
You guys you guys had 12 takeaways last year, which I think is the same amount that your offense gave away. So how do you go about against Western Illinois getting those takeaways?
Yeah, I mean, everything we talk about, I mean, I give away swag, I give candy, and you know, getting our hands on the ball, and I actually just got a new order of shirts for takeaways. They're pretty sweet, so I want to give out a lot of them. You know, it's something we preach, you know, and I guess more than just talking about it, we have to go do it now. I mean, we talk about it a lot, and we've talked about it. I mean, this is my 3rd year here, and we just haven't been good enough at getting it. But I'll say this. I think we've missed a lot of opportunities too, and we've had our hands on the ball and not been able to make plays. I mean, we were going through the last drive of the Missoula game, just started, you know, watching 2-minute situations and stuff. A defensive lineman had his hands on the ball, and linebacker / safety had his hands on the ball in that drive. You know, and we got to take advantage of opportunities when they come. And you know, like I said, I hope I'm giving away a lot of shirts. I got 2 big boxes from Universal, so you got to go get that swag. They're pretty sweet. I'll wear one of these sometime.
When it comes to taking more chances, what's that adjustment like? Because you guys haven't taken a lot of chances the last couple of years.
No, I think we've played, you know, I mean, I'll be honest, we've played it pretty safe, and we have. And in doing so, I think, you know, for the most part, we've been pretty sound defensively. I mean, but the problem is we can't be, you know, good, you know, in the top 3 in certain things, and then in the bottom 3 in others. I mean, to me, that's why we've been decent. I mean, we've been good at times, but overall, a pretty average defense in my mind. And now it's time to be good in, you know, all the areas and be great in some. And I think that's the challenge to these guys is, you know, our scoring defense has been okay to keep us in games, and you know, we've done some things well, but we've done some things so poorly, and now it's time to, you know, pick up that other half of the things like takeaways and third down and you know, some of those statistics. And like I said, I don't remember if it was to Bill or who I was talking to, but the first night, or I think it was you, Coulter, the first night, I mean, I just showed, you know, what the last 2 championship teams, I know there was a co-champ, but you know, what UND did 2 years ago and what Weber State did last year, in terms of taking the football away and going and getting interceptions and then keeping that scoring. I mean, our goal is lofty. I mean, we're trying to keep teams under 3 touchdowns every game, and if we do so, we think we can be a championship defense. So, I mean, I got to turn on. They played NDSU last year. I mean, those guys are so fun to watch. I mean, they play so hard, and every year I get to watch them. I mean, I was playing them a few years ago. It's a fun defense to watch, and I made a cut up of that game for our players to watch. And it's like, guys, I mean, they're not doing anything crazy here. They play really hard, and so hopefully when offensive coordinators and offensive staffs and opposing teams turn on our film, hopefully when those guys in Brookings turn on our film in a week, they're going to go, wow, okay, well, those guys, we played them last year, but they look different this year, just in terms of relentless effort to football.
You can get the defensive line going to help get pressure on McGuire. I mean, you have 3 seniors up front, and then you guys like Marks and Farrell are kind of waiting in the back.
Well, that's just it. I mean, Derek was a starter here at one point. I mean, Derek's a good football player, and he's a backup. And the guy that he's backing up's a very good football player, So our depth, we have invested in our front. I mean, we make no bones about it. I mean, and those guys need to go be dudes. They need to go be war daddies and produce. And I mean, our leadership comes from that group, and I mean, it probably is our deepest. I mean, it's probably one of, if not the deepest group on the whole team. So the expectation is for them to go play well and lead the charge. They need to.
Coach said they're pretty creative in the red zone. You talk offensively. You talk about that aspect.
Yeah, they get funky. We have a period every Thursday. We call it. Well, I think we're going to change the name, but it basically has something to do with funk. So play that funky music, white boy, uptown funk, some kind of funk, and they get funky. So we will. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, they can trick it up a little bit when they get in the high red, and you just got to be sound and know who the trash player is on every play, and look for screen and throwbacks, and just got to be expecting it. So
with Jacob Hadley and Blue Chapman at that strong side spot, having both of them, does that affect? How does that affect rotations you might have?
They're both going to play a lot. I mean, they are, and they both, in terms of sharing the reps, I think they've both taken about an equal amount of turns with both the 1s and 2s all camp, and that's kind of been. I told them both at the beginning of camp that it's going to be fun to go watch you guys compete, and we're going to evaluate you and everything, and whoever we decide to start next Thursday night, the other one's going to play a ton. So Blue's he's our starting Will in our nickel package. Whichever one starts in base, and they're both going to play a lot for us. So they're funny. Like if they walk in the room right now, those two are competing for the same position because they just look so different. Jacob's so tall and long, and Blue's not, but he's twitchy, and they've done a good job. They both have made plays and produced, and so they'll play a lot for us. And we have the luxury, and it's what I always tell linebackers. I mean, the more you know, the more valuable you are. I mean, because we play a very volatile position. I mean, as you guys have already seen, there's some guys that should be out there taking snaps that aren't, just injury-wise. So we need them all. The guys like Callahan was our scout team quarterback 2 seasons ago. Callahan is a backup linebacker right now and will play. Taden Gilman was Glacier's starting quarterback, and he played any defense 2 years ago. He's a backup linebacker and will play. So it'll be fun to watch those guys, and I know they're chomping at the bit. And even a guy like Hadley, I mean, we talk about him. He's taken a ton of turns in the spring, but Jacob really hasn't played ball in a couple of years. So yes, going back to our front, they need to go play well. They need to go play really well to let us go make some plays at linebacker.
How has Greg Fowler adjusted to being here? What have you noticed now?
Munchie's been great. He's a funny dude. I mean, I actually asked him the other day if he knew what a rhetorical question was, because we have these team meetings and coach will ask a question and he answers, and I look back and I'm like, Greg, you don't always have to answer. Like, he's talking to the whole team, man. No, he's different. I mean, he, you know, in terms of fall camps, definitely the most contested balls I've seen in 3 years. And not all of them are picks, but just guys going and making plays on the football, and he's usually a part of that, you know. So he's different. He's a great athlete now. If he can just, you know, soak up the scheme and just, you know, own his 20 square feet in terms of just doing his job, and we'll have a chance because he can play a little bit for sure. I like him. He's a good addition.
With Western Illinois' you know, passing attack, you know, how important will that secondary play be?
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be huge, you know, and obviously with Conkle moving back, and you know, I think Braden's got to be, in my mind, one of the most valuable guys in this organization. I mean, Braden can play multiple positions. He is a dude. He likes to play. He likes to talk. He likes to hit. I mean, I wish we had more Bradens. I wish he was still in my room, to be honest. But it absolutely was what was best for the defense, and I think he's going to have a real breakout year. I already think he's a player, but I think the rest of the conference will take notice of number 18. The secondary needs to go play. You know, we need to, both Tyrell and Jalen have kind of taken their turns with some dings in fall camp, so they haven't been out there every day, which hurts us because I think those two are pretty. The Thundercats can play a little bit. You know, they're not big, but they can play. And Damian Washington's, you know, steady Eddie, and then you know, the two Gibson brothers have been nice additions and good young rookies, and then Jockway, you know, Jockway. You know, I jokingly said the cat chat the other night, this might as well be Pluto for him. I mean, he's across, you know, like literally all the way across the country in a new place. But I think it's been good for him and good for us because he's an athlete, and just another guy like Munchie. Just if he can just keep diving into the scheme and learning the defense, those two have a chance to be pretty special. So I'm excited to watch. Yeah, I'm really excited to watch your secondary go play. Kyle and Mark do a great job with them, and you know that's kind of an unspoken thing too. It's just there's been a lot of turnover. You know, if you really look at this program, there's, you know, a coach here and there leaving every year, and defensively anyway, getting to work with Byron, Mark, Kyle, Joe Dunning, you know, in a second consecutive year, I think is going to be really good for the players. You know, just that cohesiveness, hearing the same voices and us working together, and I mean it's pretty cool. I mean, it's pretty cool for me. I mean, because I trust those guys, and those guys do. I mean, they do all the work. You know, they're I'm very fortunate to have a good group of dudes helping me on defense, and I think the kids are even more fortunate because they love their dudes, and they get to work with them consecutive years, which hasn't happened here for a while. If you really look at, I mean, Bill would know better, but especially in the secondary, you know, it's been a revolving door for coaches coming and going. And I think those kids just having a steady voice in hand and who's coaching is going to help them. So,
all right, thanks, Ted.